Alright, here is Mortigan Goth Immortalis issue 2 from the Marvel Frontier imprint. This is a great series. I really enjoy it. And I get to see again that this comic is written by Chatterer from Hellraiser. So I am in a good mood. In my review of part 1, there was a comment saying that the cover looks quite cluttered with the logo and the border. And in terms of the logos, I would agree. At least the Marvel Frontier Comics logo at the top is very, very invasive. The other two are obviously the title of the comic, and maybe the font choice for Immortalis isn't the best. But I think the border and stuff, that might be fine. I don't know what the other Marvel Frontier covers looked like. I don't know if the frame is exclusive to Immortalis. I could easily look it up, but I didn't care enough to. I will quickly recap who the main character is. Mortigan Goth is a dude from the 18th century who won immortality in a chess match against Satan, and he has lived a very, very long and tortured life. Currently, he has been called forth by Firespit, who he is an ancestor of, and Doctor Strange to help them combat some Draculas. He has also been accompanied by, he has been haunted by a Casper of a man who he saw die in a mine last issue. The relationship, the literal relationship with Firespit seems a bit iffy to me, because I have read a lot of Firespit comics, and in this, Mortigan Goth, he has a fucking guest wing at her manor, and that is like insane. How has that never come up before? I will say, something I appreciated recently that I hadn't noticed before and was never aware of. I mentioned how I reread Captain Britain and MI13, and the reason I did that was I gave the out-of-print trade paperbacks to a subscriber for free. My goal is to gift every regular commenter on my channel with something at some point. It is finding something that you would want and that I have, which is the reason you haven't gotten anything yet. But yeah, in issue 2 of Captain Britain and MI13, on rereads, boy did I enjoy and get a lot out of the casual mention of Mortigan Goth. When I read it first time, I had no idea who that was, but I found it fucking satisfying now. At the point that Captain Britain and MI13 came out, Mortigan Goth hadn't appeared again. He had only been in this series from the 90s and forgotten about, but that is a nice name drop. That series actually ties in with something that I am going to discuss after we get this important part of Mortigan Goth's backstory. He has interrupted a baby sacrifice because, of course, someone from Hellraiser will have a baby sacrifice in their comic. And Satan isn't happy about Mortigan Goth interfering in this, but Mortigan Goth won't let them kill a baby. And we have this great rug pull moment when Mortigan Goth kind of realises This is all an elaborate chess game by Satan to emerge victorious over Mortigan Goth. This is how you do a chess metaphor, everybody else. This is how you do it, and it is not fucking awful and painful. You see, Mortigan Goth is immortal, but to stop this baby from being murdered, he offers Satan the one thing Satan otherwise would never get, his soul. He offers his soul in exchange for sparing the baby. There are a lot of mature themes and stuff people might see as edgy, but this is a really well-written series and story. Mortigan Goth, he cannot die, but he has no soul. He lives a never-ending life without a soul now. And Satan can torture his soul and does so whenever Mortigan Goth attempts to do anything decent. I really love how Satan is written in this, which brings us on to what was gannon to be my point for this video, which probably won't get much time because the issue itself is really good, and I want to talk about that. This is written by Nicholas Vince, an actor from the Hellraiser films. He played one of the Cenobites, not Pinhead, but arguably the second most notable one, Chatterer. He mostly does the rounds at horror conventions now. There are a lot of cases in comics where we have celebrity writers or people from other fields coming to write comics, and it is very easy to scoff at that. There are ones where it is disgusting, where it is someone who has been given the keys to a car because they are famous, or because they are someone famous's unfamous son. The thing is, sometimes there are these sorts of outside writers who respect the medium tremendously, even more than the actual writers do. They consider it an honour to write a comic. I would say Chatterer, he seems to understand and respect the medium. One of my favourite writers to come from another field is Charlie Ray Austin, who, linking it all together, brought Mortigan Goth back in his Wolfman series. I do have some problems with his writing and the extreme violence representing something that I didn't care for. But that guy clearly loves comics, and on his runs on Wolfman and Moonman, the amount of continuity he incorporates, and more impressively, continuity most comic book writers would ignore. It is a joy to behold. Everything seems to count to him. He seems to read everything he can to write the best Moonman issues that he can. Another good one, the writer of that Black Panther run, where Black Panther started living in Hell's Kitchen, and black supremacists hated it because he was, shockingly, a superhero vigilante instead of a bastard and a Mary Sue. That guy is a novelist. I've never read his novels, but I thought that was a good run. I am a big fan of New Invaders. That series was written by a writer of King of the Hill. He didn't write any other comics, but New Invaders was fantastic. Captain Britain and MI13, which I didn't really like, to be honest. I think that was the main thing I came to the conclusion of on my reread. It has got potential and some good ideas, but it doesn't really come together for me. That was written by a writer of Doctor Who. He also wrote a Young Avenger series, which, despite the name, introduced and starred a new set of characters called the Young Masters. And I definitely prefer that over his Captain Britain and MI13. That was really, really good. Great new characters, the Young Masters. They should have gotten more of a push. There was an Iron Man run written by some brothers who worked on a TV show I only saw an advert for called Carnival, and I think Clancy Brown is in it. That wasn't a painful run. Other than the use of Count Gravity, I would say it's maybe a good run. It does seem a mixed bag when they get people from outside of comics to write. I've not talked about some of the abominations that have resulted from that, but it feels like by writing off those sorts of writers, you are also writing off some of the most promising and best ones we've had in recent years. It is just a shame that for every chatterer, there are a dozen or so Kevin Smiths who cannot even be bothered to finish their scripts on time. I also want to say, I hate Kevin Smith, and I have always hated Kevin Smith, and my hating Kevin Smith has nothing to do with him crying. My problem with Kevin Smith is he is a hypocritical, talentless fraud. And I really mean that. He set himself up as an alternative. He was the hip, cool, underground, indie film director whose movies were all distributed by a major studio. A major studio ran by a sexual predator. Kevin Smith was the dork. He was the outsider. He loves nerdy things like the comic books and the action figurines. Well, he didn't really. That was him trying to endear himself to a crowd. And now his love for those things is as a corporately owned puppet who will shill for the chance to be employed by Disney. I mean, the crying is fucking terrible. He is crying at the most tacky and horrendous sequence in a movie ever in Black Panther 2. I won't spoil it, but look up the post-credit scene on Wikipedia. It is the worst thing since the last Marvel movie. I hate Patton Oswalt as well. And Simon Pegg and Seth Rogen. They're all fake geek culture. I tell you what, Simon Pegg is an embarrassment. I liked Spaced. Shaun of the Dead is still one of the best movies ever made. But my God, he is humiliating to look at today. He moans about Star Wars fandom being the most toxic people on the planet, and how they are all a bunch of entitled incels, while ignoring that there was an entire episode of Space that was him calling Star Wars Episode 1 shit. And it was one of the first pieces of media responding to and criticising it. There was also a video during the pandemic. Him and Nick Frost, they recreated the "let's all go to the pub and wait for it to blow over" bit from Shaun of the Dead. And seeing Simon Pegg pathetically try to justify and recontextualise why a joke isn't homophobic, it's just the fucking pits of cringe.
What do you mean, all right? Yeah, I see what you're doing. I know it's 2020, but the original joke wasn't intended as homophobic. It was more a comment on the absurdity of straight male appropriation of homophobic signifiers in order to denote their aversion to emotional candidness.
Simon Pegg is eventually going to write a Marvel comic, isn't he? Sometimes it looks like Mortigan Goth is wearing makeup, and the thing that bothers me is that it isn't consistent. Sometimes he looks like he is, and then other times it looks like he is not. The Dracula who is stalking the estate, this time it isn't Barry Blood. It is an art girlfriend of Mortigan Goth, who was transformed into a Dracula by Barry Blood. We have a flashback here, and we get plenty of flashbacks to different points in Mortigan Goth's lifetime. And down there is Barry Blood. One problem with this series, though, is that the endings of the issues, they seem to just hit without any clue. There is no to be continued. There's no next issue blurb or teaser. There's no hint whatsoever that this is the final page of the issue. This one isn't that bad, because at least it is a dramatic moment, and it is big. But in the first issue, you feel like you have missed a page the way that one just suddenly ends. If you are looking for Marvel stories you have not read that are quite good, here is one for you. The 4 issues of Mortigan Goth Immortalis. Even if you don't care for the central character or the idea, you've got a bit of a Doctor Strange story here. You've got a bit of a Fire Spit story here. You've got some great writing and a chess metaphor that wasn't shit. I need to give it 7 thumbs up just for that.